Canyon country. A rugged empire of towering rock in the outback of southern Utah and northern Arizona. From a labyrinth of flooded canyons to a barren landscape that holds the secrets of a rich geological past. It is one of North America's last great wildlands. A parched plateau of swirling sandstone, devoid of shade and water. There are no maps, no signs, just wilderness.
One little thing goes wrong, you may not make it out.
A place where the Earth's inner fires erupt in billows of eternal smoke. A land rich in marine fossils, revealing million-year-old secrets of an ancient ocean.
These are little pieces of the puzzle, the window that brings us back in time to what the Earth must have been like back then.
And a rarely seen view of one of the world's most remote and rugged natural wonders. Glen Canyon. A maze of soaring rock, stretching across more than 1 million acres of the southwest United States, straddling southern Utah and the tip of northern Arizona. An enchanted landscape of twisting canyons, mirrored in the emerald waters of Lake Powell and the Colorado River Basin.
It's just a very scenic landscape that just has no comparison anywhere else.
Dubbed the land no one knew, the far reaches of Glen Canyon were seldom traveled until the middle of the last century, and today remain largely undiscovered.
I don't think the world really knows how terrific this area is. There is so much that is unique and yet hasn't been touched. That term, the place no one knew, was used because back in the 1950s, Grand Canyon had already attracted a lot of attention.
Glen Canyon is such a remarkable feat of nature that it still manages to impress when compared to one of the world's most celebrated natural wonders. Its close neighbor, the Grand Canyon. In the late 19th century, the promise of minerals piqued an interest in mining at the Grand Canyon, though tourism proved to be more profitable. By the turn of the 20th century, the Grand Canyon was one of America's most popular tourist destinations.
It had a railroad that went to the South Rim by 1901. Farther upstream, there was a lot of activity, but this canyon, Glen Canyon, was kind of left alone.
Glen Canyon was named by Major John Wesley Powell, the first explorer to journey down the mighty Colorado River, once deemed the most treacherous waterway in the Northern Hemisphere. In 1869, Major John Wesley Powell and 9 of his men embarked on a journey of 1,600 kilometers of uncharted canyons. A voyage that would change the West forever. The expedition lasted a total of 100 days. The rapids of the Colorado River were hostile through Grand Canyon. Supplies were ripped away. Food and water scarce. Lives lost.
In Glen Canyon, it was quite a bit different than it was downstream in Grand Canyon. The gradient of the river was so low, there were very few rapids, so it was a relief to be here in this beautiful place. The name comes from all of the vegetated alcoves that lay along the river. There was more vegetation here than they had seen upstream or downstream. So it was a very beautiful place. It did not require portaging boats around rapids, and it was very quiet.
After a second grueling expedition, Major John Wesley Powell became the first to map the hostile Colorado River.
At that time in 1869, this part of the map of North America was pretty much blank, and we did not know really how the Colorado got from the state of Colorado down to Arizona and California.
Glen Canyon, Grand Canyon, and a vast expanse of canyon country were excavated by the Colorado River over millions of years. More than 2,000 kilometers long, flowing through 7 different states. The Colorado is the central artery of the southwestern United States. It is the American Nile. In spring, rain and melting snow roll down the Rocky Mountains, feeding into streams and tributaries, then converging at the Colorado. This river system is collectively known as the Colorado River Basin. Draining more than 600,000 square kilometers, an area as large as France, the basin covers nearly 10% of the United States. The same percentage of Africa that is drained by the Nile. For millions of years, these rivers have been flowing through the landscape, carrying debris and boulders downstream, carving out the depths of canyon country. The steep Colorado River and its tributaries power through the gully, chiseling the scenic landscape of Glen Canyon. The downward journey of the Colorado is not always a straight line. Water takes the path of least resistance, sometimes meandering down the landscape, taking wide and swooping turns. Horseshoe Bend. A loop of turquoise water twists between the soaring sandstone walls, carving more than 1,000 feet into the canyon. An astounding 270-degree turn in the river's ancient path is preserved in stone. The canyon walls are largely made of sandstone, particles of sand bound together by minerals. Over time, these bonds are broken by the flowing waters of the Colorado, and the river's winding path is engraved into the land, marking the beginning of what one day might be a natural bridge. The natural bridges of canyon country form in the meanders of the river's path. As water carves deep into the groove, it hits an impenetrable rock layer beneath the sandstone. With its downward excavation at a halt, the stream widens its path instead, undercutting the surrounding canyon walls. Over time, water wears down the inner wall as it curves around the bend, leaving the narrow neck of the meander vulnerable to erosion. Eventually, the stream pierces through the weakened rock, taking a shortcut through the wall. With time, this hole is widened by the new path of the river. The result is a natural bridge, one of nature's most beautifully engineered structures. Up the Colorado River, nestled in a canyon north of Horseshoe Bend, a natural bridge stands proudly arched above its maker. Rainbow Bridge. Taller than a 20-story skyscraper, nearly as long as a football field. It is the world's largest natural bridge. The Navajo, a native tribe that has resided in the area for hundreds of years, considers the bridge sacred, a protector of the universe. In the Navajo language, the bridge is called Nanazoshi, meaning rainbow turned to stone. In Navajo culture, the bridge is believed to capture the essence of the desert, serving as a symbol of the divine powers that created clouds, rainbows, and rain. Special prayers are offered, passing beneath the sacred bridge. Failure to do so is believed to bring a lifetime of misfortune. Rainbow Bridge was once among the most remote and inaccessible areas in North America. Today, a man-made reservoir floods the surrounding streams and canyons and gives access to the bridge by way of water. Lake Powell. Stretching across 300 kilometers of northern Arizona to southern Utah, it is the second largest man-made reservoir in the United States. Lake Powell and its flooded canyons are fringed by more than 3,000 kilometers of shoreline, a distance longer than the entire west coast of the United States. The lake was formed by the construction of Glen Canyon Dam more than a half a century ago. The building of the dam began with the pouring of damp concrete. Each bucket of concrete weighed 24 tons, as heavy as 12 cars. Construction lasted 3 years and required more than 400,000 buckets of concrete, enough to lay a 4-lane highway through all of Italy and Spain. Lake Powell stretches across 13% of Glen Canyon, enough water to flood the entire landmass of Cuba in 30 centimeters of water. It is a reservoir, storing the waters of the Colorado River to be used in times of drought. Its waters flow through a hydropower plant at the toe of Glen Canyon Dam. 8 massive turbines fueled by generators convert water to electricity. Operating at full capacity, more than 15 million gallons of water pass through the power plant each minute, providing electricity to 6 million Americans. But some wonder, at what cost? Calm, still, serene. Lake Powell is one of the world's most scenic places, but it is also one of the most controversial. In the desert sun of canyon country, nearly 3% of the lake's volume evaporates each year. A white line along the flooded canyon walls indicates the level of water that once occupied this lake. It is referred to as a bathtub ring. Calcium carbonate and other minerals in the water attach to sandstone and leave behind a chalky streak as they evaporate. The Colorado River once zigzagged through Glen Canyon. Muddy and savage. Today, it is one of the most highly controlled rivers in the world, with 15 dams installed along its path. The waters of the Colorado, not controlled by Glen Canyon Dam, blush in the southwestern sun. Dirt and sand carried by the river color its waters red. When Spanish explorers first caught sight of the silty river, they were astounded by its striking hue, naming it Rio Colorado, Red River. Today, the silt stays trapped behind the dam, and with it, its red color. Native fish, dependent on the silty, life-giving minerals of the Colorado's muddy waters, are unable to survive beyond the dam. Unnaturally cold waters, released from the bottom of Glen Canyon Dam, pose another problem. River temperatures, once as high as 85 degrees, plunge to lows of 44, too cold for the fish to spawn. These environmental changes threaten the populations of many native species in the river corridor between Glen Canyon Dam and Hoover Dam. The natural landscape of Glen Canyon, shaped by the Colorado River and its tributaries, is always changing. Over millions of years, plateaus turn into mesas, flat-topped landmasses, wider than they are tall. These mesas, worn down by erosion, become narrower rocks, known as buttes. Eventually, these buttes will erode away to pinnacles until they too surrender to erosion and crumble to the valley floor. The stages in which the landscape of Glen Canyon was sculpted are locked in stone. Formed during the age of dinosaurs, Glen Canyon sandstone walls date back to the Jurassic period.
We're sitting and standing on rocks that go back about 160 million years, 180 million years. And we're looking at landscapes that have been carved out of those rocks. We end up with shapes and sculptures that you just don't see anywhere else. And then having lake water lapping up against these beautiful rocks and the combination of blue water and red rocks, that's also pretty hard to beat. The landscapes that we see today are just a snapshot in what's going on here over a long period of time.
More than 160 million years ago, the sandstone castles of Glen Canyon were massive, wind-blown desert dunes. And the mahogany rock layer that lines the foothills of its canyons, an inland sea. As the ground rose and fell, the landscape changed, transforming inland seas into desert dunes. Over time, these environments, deposited in sedimentary layers, were preserved in stone. Like the chapters of a history book, each layer tells the story of a geological past. Certain periods of time within the rock layers are completely missing, referred to by geologists as unconformities, eras when the environment did not deposit enough sediment to create a layer. With no record in the rocks, entire chapters of the geological history of canyon country remain a mystery. West of Glen Canyon, an ancient ocean floor provides clues to a mysterious past. Dark, dry, desolate, deserted. A place the locals call the Moon for its otherworldly form and color. The Tropic Shale, a stark graveyard of prehistoric bones that once teemed with marine life.
I've been fossil hunting in the Southwest for a long time, and I have training as a geologist. And I found a lot of significant fossil sites in this formation, the Tropic Shale. The fossils that we find here tell us a lot about the biology and the history of what the Earth was like here so long ago. These are little pieces of the puzzle, the window that brings us back in time to what the Earth must have been like back then. And every single discovery that's made out here is extremely important piece of that puzzle that helps us see exactly what was going on.
Rich in marine fossils, the Tropic Shale reveals the 90-million-year-old secrets of an ancient ocean. The remnants found here are from the Cretaceous period, the age of dinosaurs.
If you were here 90 million years ago, you would be in the middle of an inland sea called the Western Interior Seaway that covered most of Western North America. And you would see fish swimming around in this ocean. You would see giant turtles that were the size of vehicles swimming around. A vast array of different types of sharks, some of which are now extinct. There were seagoing marine reptiles that were also swimming around in this ocean.
The colors of the Tropic Shale help tell the story of these fossils. Deep gray coloration indicates there was a lot of carbon and little oxygen on the bottom of this ocean, what is called an anoxic environment. A lack of oxygen decreased the number of microbial and other smaller life forms that typically consume the bones collected on an ocean floor, making the Tropic Shale an ideal environment for preserving the fossils of marine life that once swam in these waters.
It's interesting that you can go to a desert in the Southwest and hike around in a very remote location and find a shark tooth at 4,000 feet elevation when it's 104 degrees outside. This is a Cretaceous shark tooth that we just found close by here in the Tropic Shale. You have part of the root here has been snapped off. There's what's known as an eye tooth, which is one of the side teeth from the main tooth, which is also snapped on the top. It's broken, but still beautifully preserved.
Along the Tropic Shale, deposited in shallower beach waters, are millions of fossilized oysters embedded in the sandstone as far as the eye can see. Their shells tightly packed together, protected by the stone. Oysters live in shallow, saltwater environments. These fossilized oysters provide a window into an oceanic past.
So this entire area behind me here was a beach 90 million years ago, right on the ocean front, which is the darker sediments right above the beach. This beach is just caked in oysters, which is one of the indications why we know it was a beach. So when you look at the rocks here, there are actually so many oysters packed together here, you can hardly even tell one oyster from the next. Here's one of these oysters, beautifully preserved for 90 million years. It's really fascinating to go walk along this ancient beach, and you can almost imagine being there 90 million years ago. There would be oysters living in the sand underneath your feet, and it would be like a tropical paradise, as opposed to what you see today, a very dry, desolate desert.
From an ancient ocean floor to one of the world's largest sand dune deserts, the rocks of Canyon Country reveal a rich geological history, layer by layer. South of the Tropic Shale, along the deep meander of the Colorado River, its tributary, the Paria River, carves through the narrow, twisting canyons of the Paria Plateau. Above the valley lies a barren stretch of pristine desert, brimming with geological wonders. Vermilion Cliffs Wilderness Area, more than 1 square kilometer of rugged, unspoiled beauty. A remote expanse of desert atop the towering Paria Plateau, girded by 600 meters of soaring crimson cliffs, stretches across more than 45 kilometers of northern Arizona.
It's the most beautiful country I've ever seen. To me, it is a place that looks like it's touched by the divine.
In the scorching desert sun, the Vermilion Cliffs burn with a fiery red glow. The ground sweats, releasing shimmering waves of heat. A blooming flower, alone among the desert shrubs, sways in the summer wind. Wildlife is nowhere to be seen. High up in the cliffs, the largest land birds in North America, California condors, wait out the desert sun in the shelter of a shaded cave. few creatures can survive the desert's extreme conditions. Summer temperatures can spike to 45 degrees Celsius.
But that's not the start of it. What you need to worry about is the fact that from the ground and from the rocks, the heat is reverberating back to you, so it is like a pressure cooker.
Sandstone dominates the landscape of the Vermilion Cliffs, trapping the scorching rays of sun deep inside the ground. There is no water and little vegetation to relieve the heat. Plants cool the landscape through a process called transpiration. As the surrounding air heats up, plants release excess water into the atmosphere, cooling both themselves and the surrounding air. Junipers sprinkled across the barren land offer little relief in the way of shade. The fleeting shadow from an overhang on the escarpment provides a moment of reprieve. At night, as the sun retreats and heat escapes the rocks, temperatures can drop to lows of 15 degrees, as much as a 30-degree difference from the daytime.
You really need to bring as much as you can as far as layering, long sleeve shirts, hats, things that will protect you. You know, you wouldn't go out into the Sahara Desert ill-prepared.
The landscape of Vermilion Cliffs was in fact once an ancient desert, as vast as the Sahara. A remote and isolated patch of sandstone, hidden in the northwest corner of Vermilion, exposes its ancient past. The Coyote Buttes, a landscape of colorful, swirling sandstone that must be seen to be believed.
You won't see anything else like it in the world. I've traveled pretty extensively myself, and I've never seen formations that are this inspiring and mind-boggling and moving.
The journey out to the Coyote Buttes is no easy feat. There are no signs, no maps, just desert.
It's an area that can be really unforgiving. Mother Nature's learning curve here is very harsh if you're not prepared. You need your maps, you need to study them, you need to be prepared with a cache of food, and you need to hydrate. I can't say enough that you need to hydrate before you head out. Folks will head out and be unfamiliar with the area, get totally turned around, or get dehydrated because they haven't had enough water, there's no signs, and they start hiking another way and they're lost. I feel like out here we're on a bit of a tenuous thread, that if someone were to pull that tiny little thread, everything is unraveled in a moment. One little thing goes wrong, you may not make it out.
The South Coyote Buttes, tucked away in the northwest corner of the Vermilion Wilderness area. a billowing landscape, stained white, orange, and red. Isolated sandstone peaks emerge from level ground, like tents pitched in the middle of a desert. More than 200 million years ago, these summits were massive wind-blown sand dunes that spanned what is now the stretch from Wyoming to Las Vegas. It was one of the world's largest deserts. Water filled with minerals filtered through the desert, binding sand particles together like cement. Over millions of years, desert sands turned to sandstone. As ancient winds blew across the desert, sand dunes were stacked one on top of the other, creating a rippled pattern. Hardened over time to rock, these ripples were preserved as smooth, colored ribbons of sandstone. Each color represents a different chemical reaction between sand, minerals, and water. Over millions of years, the landscape is bleached and stained, band by band, in perfectly aligned horizontal stripes. Pockets of the North Coyote Buttes give way to a chaotic landscape of tangled reds, whites, and creams, and bunches of rock robbed of color.
You will come to places that feel like it's out of this world, and they are magically unspoiled. And a place where you can really be close to nature and have that connection. And it feels like being on another planet.
Curious swells and weaving twists of color paint the desert landscape.
You're seeing cream splashed against these brilliant oranges and reds and gray, and then the strata, the formation, kind of, there's places where it undulates and swirls, and it kind of smears together like almost like a really luscious ice cream cone. It is a different interpretation that everyone walks away with. To see all of those mind-boggling formations and colors just kind of smeared and mixed together and mashed together, and kind of wonder how the earth did this, how the elements pushed all of these things together and molded them and melted them together. It's really beautiful.
The processes that yielded these bizarre formations have stumped geologists for years. The contortions, twists, and grooves are thought to have occurred in the Jurassic period, more than 100 million years ago, when this was an ancient desert. Some geologists believe this unusual landscape is the product of a process called soft sediment formation. A sandslide triggered by an earthquake mixed different layers of sand. Over millions of years, these sands solidified to stone, shaping one of nature's most miraculously painted landscapes. North of the Vermilion Cliffs, high above the Colorado River and its string of canyons, smoke dances in the evening glow of the setting sun. Exhaled from the mouth of a blackened fissure that peers deep into the earth. Smoky Mountain. Overlooking the rugged peaks and valley plains of canyon country, a mountain range that hints at fires burning deep within. A buildup of black tar lines fissures, scattered on the mountaintop. The pungent odor of an old coal-burning furnace is evidence of a fire burning kilometers below the ground. Millions of years ago, a coal deposit deep below the earth was set ablaze. The source that sparked the flame remains a mystery. Geologists suggest the fire was ignited either by spontaneous combustion or a strike of lightning. A seemingly endless supply of coal fuels the fire. Oxygen entering through the fissures keeps it burning like a natural chimney. The crimson color of the cliff face indicates the age and power of the fire deep within. The coal oxidizes iron minerals trapped within the rock, changing the coloration of the cliffs from brown to red. Similar to the ruddy bricks of an aging furnace. An indication that this fire has been burning for millions of years. With so much valuable coal going up in smoke, government agencies and coal companies tried to extinguish the fire in the 1960s. Their efforts failed. In 1996, a proposed coal mine in the area was quashed when U.S. President Bill Clinton designated this area a national park. As the sun descends on canyon country, smoke clouds billow from the fissures. The inner fires of Smoky Mountain will stay ablaze through the night and for countless nights to come. From the winding sandstone labyrinth of Glen Canyon to the swirling sands of the Vermilion cliffs, the canyon country of the American Southwest is a land of raw and rugged beauty.
It's unlike anything else that you see anywhere else on Earth.
A barren landscape that once teemed with prehistoric life.
Every fossil is a little window back into that past.
A place to connect with nature.
Today, we are running way too fast. We need to slow down and just listen, and sometimes the only thing that we hear is nothing at all.
In the outback of canyon country, water slowly deepens canyons. and winds sculpt desert plains as they have for millions of years. Eroded by the elements and by time, this land writes the story of its creation, line by line. Sometimes revealing a surprising geological past. Other times, keeping its origins a secret.